Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is the Socks Off podcast. I hope you're well. Hope your socks are actually off and let's get comfy. I'm actually making this video as a retaliation for TikTok because I posted like a little breakdown of the Petal music video and it didn't get as many views as I wanted to. And yeah, I'm actually really salty about that. So I'm coming on my podcast to talk about it because I feel like we need to actually break down what this video is about. But I'm not going to do it in a way where I'm in media studies class again and we're like breaking scene by scene by scene by scene. We're not doing that. We're just going to focus on the topics that Ariana mainly pointed out because I feel like for her as an artist, the music video actually spoke a lot of truths, but it was intentional in the way it provoked people. Like she knows what she's doing basically. Like everything in the video is very much intentional and she knew the discussions that were going to like erupt out of this video when she released it. That doesn't mean that we can't talk about it and critique it though, because as you guys know, my first ever podcast episode, if you go and check, is literally I Love Ariana Grande.
It's horrible, but it's true.
Let's talk about Ariana Grande. She is my I love that woman down. I am an Arianator, but I will have to admit I'm not fucking with that album. I'm actually not fucking with that album. I'm gonna be so real. Mainly because the messaging of that album is meant to give like unfiltered female rage. It's meant to give like unpolished and just the expectations that I had for it doesn't match up to the music that's on there. I'd say like some of the songs or maybe like some of the lyrics kind of relate back to the topic of the album, but all in all, like as a whole album, I don't think it just I don't think it meshes well. Like if you were to look at her other albums, like maybe like Sweetener, there's a cohesion with it. It kind of all makes sense and it kind of all like it adds up to what that album is supposed to be. Then with Petal, with Petal, there's a rawness that's missing, and I was kind of like, as an Ariana, I was craving for Ariana to come onto this album and really like to delve into these topics with like just no filter at all, just go full throttle and really talk about the issues that she's facing with the public. Not even just the public, but like the perception that I had or the expectation that I had for the album was that it was meant to be like she really just like pours her heart out, no fucks given. Instead, she was just talking about how great her pussy is and just, stroking her ego and that she can get any man that she wants. And it's like, okay, girl, we know you are that girl, but like, tell me something I haven't heard before. Do you know what I mean? A consistent pattern that people have noticed that in the video, when she's like pulling out tickets, it's actually like relating to the era that she was in or like the age that she was in during that time. First ticket she pulled out was the age that she was around her Yours Truly era. And what I like about this like whole progression of just like showing different versions of herself and like how it reacts to the public, because the panel board is meant to be like the public and the critiques and stuff, and then obviously Pepper's meant to be her. So in the beginning of the video, it actually starts off with, Pepper being introduced to the Hollywood world, and she's like really excited. She's like, oh my god, like ee. Like throughout the video you could just see her progressively becoming more of a people pleaser, which is very relatable to like Ariana and her personality in terms of her growing up in the industry. Consistent theme that I saw Ariana bring up in her music video was like topics and themes about her body. And like even when the critics were writing things down in their notes, they were writing things about her body, like that she needs to have sex appeal, or when she does have sex appeal, she looks too desperate, or the sex appeal is perfect, but she could lose a couple more pounds or something. Like there's always something relating to her body. Her bringing up her body around this time is very, I don't want to say calculated. No, it is calculated. It's calculated, but not in a conniving way. It's calculated because this has been a thing for her from the beginning of her career. She's always been scrutinized for just like the way her body looks and stuff. She came out of Nickelodeon, people calling her too fat. She lost a bit of weight, and now she's like trying to step more into herself. People are saying she's too nice, put on like this sexy persona. People are saying she's trying too hard with women. damned if you do, damned if you don't. She cares so much about her passion for the industry and making it. She's not doing it because, you know, she cares about what people think. She's doing it because she actually just wants to make it and, like, be a successful artist and creative, full stop. I think many truths can be true at once, and this is what I wanted to bring up in my TikTok, but I don't know what they have against me, but I think it's a good point. Many truths can be true at once. So in the music video, and this is the part where, like, it blew the fuck up on the internet. Like, when it comes to women's bodies, there's an obsession that the patriarchy has on, like, always nitpicking at little things and, like, always wanting women to look a certain way and to commodify them and sell them in a certain way that suits them, the patriarchy. It means when we bring up women's bodies, it's done in a way that is supposed to support them and help them and also empower them, not done in a way where we just degrade them and make them feel like even more shit. This fucking picture, right? I think that was very intentional. Looking at it from, like, a creative lens and, you know, being media literate, I think it was a very smart, artistic move to put that scene in her video, because what she's showing is that, like, she could go to the extremes of what you want and it still will never be good enough for the public. What is it that you want from her? I think the messaging is really good and I love the clarity on that. However, baby, you look like this in real life. This is the issue that I'm having as an Ari and I, is, like, in the video specifically as well, when she comes out, she's gotten rid of that noise, if you know what I mean. She's completely annihilated the noise from the critics and stuff. She's come out with blood all over her, and then the women are, like, clapping for her. They're all happy for her and stuff. It's easy to focus on negative critique and completely forget that there's, like, fans out there that generally support you, but they can still be critical of your work. An issue that I'm seeing, like, with a lot of fandoms is that we'll just blindly follow our favorite artists in the name of just, like, supporting them, but you can still support them and still be critical of them in a guideful way. You don't have to be bashful and, like, come on the internet and be like, oh my god, like, I've seen some horrible things about Ariana's body, and it's like, okay, guys, we can admit she's not okay. Even though she's literally telling us that she's healthy and fine, she's not. Physically, she's not. And I don't want to, like, either, like, come on here and diagnose someone either, because when this discussion was going on during the Eternal Sunshine era, I kind of kept quiet because I'm like, honestly, she looks petite and fine to me. She might have lost a little bit of weight, but, you know, like, weight fluctuates with women. This is something that she'll get back. And everyone on the Wicked cast kind of resembled that as well. Like, they lost a bit of weight, but if you look at someone like Cynthia, for example, she's healthy again. I think it's just her being super busy and stuff. That's literally what I was excusing myself with, but I wasn't gonna go down that rabbit hole of being completely delusional and, like, defending her and be like, oh, you guys are just haters, rah, rah, rah. When people are talking to you, listen, open your ears. Open your ears. Okay, the issue that I have with the fandom now, during her Petal era, when you see clips of Ariana on tour, her bones are showing, her bones are popping, she's moving and her back muscles aren't even there. What am I saying? She's gotten to the point where she's withered so much where she doesn't have muscle on her bone anymore. All you just see is her bones. She's popping out and you can see her bones and stuff. And a funny thing that the fans will do, they'll get old pictures of her and be like, well, she's always been like this. Guys, she is petite. We can admit that. And sometimes you can see, with petite people, you can see their bones and stuff. Not to this extent. Never to this extent where she's simply standing and you can see just straight bone. It's not hard to ignore these telltale signs because you can obviously see that she is physically unhealthy. And I feel like, because this podcast, I love to talk about anything spiritual, so we're going to get into that. And we're going to dive into theories too. Aaron has been in this industry for so long. And there's always bigger entities at the top of the industry that she works in. It almost works in, like, a puppeteering way. In the video, it comes in as Pepper, and then even her coming in as Pepper, that's not even her. She's playing an actress who's playing an actress. One side of the story, right? You're making this album to be, like, unfiltered rage and stuff, but the people above her expecting something different from her, where it's like it's conflicting now. So she is hearing one thing from the public, she's hearing another thing from her fans, and then she's hearing another thing from like the industry that she's in and like the executives and all of those above her. So it's like all of these conflicting ideas like melt into one thing together. And yeah, I would understand if she would be fucking confused and completely enraged and stuff. I just don't think she illustrated that well throughout her entire album. And maybe it was reserved only for the song Petal, but I feel like if you're gonna call your album that and then you lead off with those sorts of topics, you don't have to touch on it necessarily in every song, but I think the theme should like consistently follow itself throughout the album. And it just, I don't understand how that completely got missed out, because I feel like Ariana was completely capable of that. It just didn't translate. So yeah, that really upset me, because I feel like this was a great opportunity for her to discuss like really, really big issues. She did mention her weight, but I don't even feel like that's something that she should have even mentioned, if I'm being honest. Especially where it's like, it's getting to the point where it seems like it's gaslighting. Can I say that it is? I feel like I'm being gaslit as a fan. Like, to be saying that you deem yourself as healthy when physically it doesn't show that, is just a bit worrying, because it's like, what are the people around you telling you? Where did this idea come from where if you were to physically look at yourself, you'd still think that you're healthy? And I'm not saying this to bash her either, because I think when you, especially with her, she's just had her Saturn return as well. So I think the expectation for her album to be even more introspective and more raw cut and more like unfiltered and really just show the rage that she's been suppressing for her entire career. That's literally what I was like, yes, she's going to finally like reveal it in this album, and we're finally going to get that, but we didn't get that. And I feel like she's still kind of people pleasing. The rage that she's feeling on a spiritual level hasn't been manifested, and it hasn't revealed itself completely yet. Petal is a song where it shows like maybe a slither of that rage, but not as much as she would like to express. Even her outside of Petal now, outside of Petal and like her in the public eye, she's putting on, I'm so sorry, I don't want to be rude, but there isn't a sense of being genuine there. She's come out with like that statement that her team's released the statement, whatever, and she's come on her tour to basically just set the record straight.
So basically, the announcement that was made yesterday was not a reactive or impulsive thing. It is something that I had decided. It's a plan that I had quietly made a long time ago, and it's a decision.
When you can sense someone is just holding something back and they want to say more, but they just feel like they can't. That's what it generally feels like. That's what the album rollout feels like. It all feels like that. And do you know, I completely understand, because no matter what, she's gonna have moments where the public just completely hate her and like they completely love her. It's a very polarizing and toxic dynamic between her and the public, which I completely understand. But if you're going to address that in a music video and you know what's to come after the fact, knowing that you've been in the public eye for so long and that you're always going to receive polarizing opinions and like really toxic feedback from people, with the album rollout, it's like I was expecting her to embrace that, to jump into it and really like embrace that sort of identity where she's just like, listen, hate me or love me, I don't care. This is me, this is who I am, and this is what I've been through, and this is what I want to talk about. She just missed that mark for me. It can definitely be overwhelming to hear so many polarizing and contradicting statements at once from everyone. Like literally, like I said, from her fans, from the critics, from the people around her, from her team, from big producers and executives above her as well. It can be a lot to like handle, especially when everyone's saying different things at once. I think she definitely needs the time for herself to just isolate and reflect, because she's been working so hard, guys. She's been doing Wicked, she's been doing Meet the Fockers. I hate saying that. She's been doing that film. She's also been doing like little theatre. She's pulled out of the theatre thing that she was gonna do with Jonathan Bailey, like, but she was doing that as well. She was doing rehearsals, her tour, which she basically doesn't really take much breaks from. And even if she is taking a break, guys, she's rehearsing. Like, this woman is working back to back to back to back. And I feel like that plays into the people-pleasing theme that I keep talking about. Expectation of the album was for her to actually talk about her people-pleasing tendencies and how she's like breaking away from that, even with the album cover and her like smiling through the adversity of it all. It's meant to show that like she's working through that and she's ready to leave that in the past and just create herself a new chapter. But the first step is to release all of that rage and just like be honest and true to herself, but in a raw, unfiltered way. Even when she's like come on the tour and stuff, there's something still kind of polished about her. The music industry and the Hollywood industry, they're intertwined and they share a lot of similarities, but I feel like they can be very different. And someone like Zendaya mentioned this as well. Like, Zendaya was first making music. Her relationship to the music industry versus her relationship to the Hollywood industry were completely two different relationships. She felt like when she stepped into the Hollywood industry, she could create more of a distance between her identity and the relationship with the public. So where there's like a barrier and there's a boundary that we as the public just can't cross, because she's playing so many different roles, and it's a bit more healthier because she can dip in and out of these roles and people aren't conflating it with her identity. Whereas if you're in the music industry, you are the brand. That is what you are. Your music is part of you. You are the brand. That is what you're selling. And those two things can mesh and conflate, and that's what often happens with pop stars, especially in the big public eye, like Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, all of them. People conflate the brand that you're selling with your actual identity, and those two mesh together, and like, you almost, if you go on for too long, you will lose yourself going into the acting world. And then even her like playing the role of Glinda and then coming back to be a pop star again, there's this sort of gap that has been made and there's no bridge between it. So she's gone from the Eternal Sunshine era to the Petal era, but there's no bridge between that, which is completely fine to jump from era to era. But I think that bridge was very crucial in explaining certain topics that she could have delved into more into her album. In the music video, they mentioned like the personality disorder comment that she's been getting from people, especially when she was playing Glinda, or like during that Wicked era. People definitely thought, okay, Ariana's definitely going through like a personality disorder crisis here. Again, like, it's like shoving all the things that she has received into one song, but it flattens like the complexity of it completely if you just like summarize it in one song. I wish it could have been explored in a broader like spectrum, because there's so many topics that she's missed there. Like, it's a lot to ask someone to like delve into topics that they don't want to delve into. It is kind of weird, and I understand that, but the only reason why I'm coming off this flex is mainly because the album was just so flat. It doesn't make, that's what I'm struggling to like get to grips with the album. Like, it doesn't make sense for everything that's been going on, and like the way it's been promoted, to the way the title track is literally like conveying itself. There's no correlation. There is a correlation, obviously. That's why it's all in an album, but it's not a cohesive one. Many truths can exist at once. The reason why I bring this up is because, yes, although Ariana is allowed to experience this sort of female rage and unfiltered rage and talk about topics like her body, because I can only imagine from her perspective, even now, it's so frustrating just to hear people just tell you about yourself when you are literally you. And when she does things to like people please people, she can never seem to like get it right. The situation where she's coming online and telling her fans that she's okay when she visibly doesn't look okay, I think that's an issue. And I think, yeah, she can come online and say that, and that can be her truth, and the people around her can also feed into that. Or okay, let me not say feed into that, but they can definitely validate that experience with proof. They can definitely validate that experience of her, you know, feeling like she's healthy and stuff. But on the outside perspective, it can also be true that, Ariana, you don't look like you're healthy. Thing that I thought was interesting as well, she seems to mention like a lot of generic topics. When are we gonna talk about the cultural appropriation though? Yeah, I feel like, excuse me, I feel like this album, especially Petal, I keep saying this album, but Petal as the song itself, it was definitely meant to focus on public scrutiny, female rage and unfiltered rage, and like the way she feels towards the public scrutiny coming towards her. She mentions like real life critiques that she's actually received before. If you were to type up these critiques on Twitter, I guarantee they'll come up bar for bar as well. But another critique that I just feel like she loves to avoid is the cultural appropriation. Like, Ariana, a lot of your career has been you leeching off of other people's cultures and benefiting off of these cultures. I feel like it's very tone deaf as a white woman to come onto your platform and then make a song called Petal about female rage and how you feel about public scrutiny and stuff, but you're mainly focusing on the criticisms that victimize you instead of the criticisms that are actually valid and come from a genuine place as well. Like, as a person of color and also being an Ari fan, it's kind of hard to like just sweep under the rug all the like cultural appropriations she's been doing, basically like a big bulk of her career. Like the fake tan, the black scent, the whole Victoria Monet saga. It's not really a saga, but it's just more like you basically leached off of her personality and you took that as your own. This is like a toxic thing that I hate about the fandom. Like, there's a lot of issues that she'll never address and will just sweep under the rug, and this is where toxic relationships with fandoms comes in. And this is what I wanted to bring up with like when she came out of that room with the blood all over her and she's annihilated the noise of the critics. She comes out and then the girls are like clapping for her and they're all like ecstatic. I feel like that's meant to show like the delusion of the fandom, because in their eyes, she can't do anything wrong, which she most certainly can, and she definitely has. We just don't like to bring it up because it's the fear of demonizing your favorite. But there's nothing wrong with critiquing people. We're human, we make mistakes, that's completely fine. I just feel like if you're gonna come off of this flex where it's like, I'm unfiltered, I'm raw, I'm expressing my rage, you have to be honest about where this rage is coming from. Criticism that you receive, and like the rage that you're feeling from it is valid, but you have to explore topics that are bigger than you, because it doesn't just only affect you at this point. It affects other people, especially when you come onto a platform not expecting, I don't think she's expecting it, but like if you come onto this, actually maybe a little bit, when you're an artist and you create music, it's for other people. When you create in general, it's for other people, so you are expecting some sort of feedback and some sort of praise, especially from your supporters. You're expecting to like hear some feedback, to hear how they received it. And as a supporter, the way I received it was just a tad bit tone deaf, because it's interesting that she was able to bring up even something that triggers her a lot, which is her weight, but she cannot for the life of her, and I don't think she ever will, honestly, she will never bring up the cultural appropriation and the damage that it's done to the community, because I feel like every time a white artist cultural appropriates, it definitely does affect the community, because how is it you're allowed to benefit from our community and you're allowed to take certain aesthetics that benefit you financially, but then when we call you out on it, you completely changed herself from this like Blackiana cute aesthetic to this like petite white girl, innocent, fragile. If this whole Petal era was still attached to her black aesthetic, people wouldn't receive the victimization role as much. The undertone of misogynoir it's very interesting. It's like it's almost like these white artists know that if they want to gain sympathy and empathy votes, that they can't use the black aesthetic to their advantage, because it only benefits them financially, but it will never support them in a world where white women are prioritized over black women. White women tears are looked at more seriously. She can't come into this Petal era with her black aesthetic because she will get even more hate for it. Not for the fact that she is being Blackiana, but the fact that she just looks black. That visceral reaction that the public have, because ultimately, society we live in is just racist and hates black women. That is the truth of it. I'm gonna wrap up the video here. If you are not nuanced and you actually stayed throughout this whole video, well done to you, actually. Well done to you. But I hope you can take from this video that many truths can exist at once. I'm still an Ari fan. I just didn't like the rollout. I don't like Petal. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I just don't. I would say like I give it like a 6 out of 10. I mean Petal as like that album. The Petal song, that's a real good song. That's a real good song. But there were a lot of opportunities to bring up points that she just completely missed. The album was quite flat, very egocentric, and that would have worked for a different era, for sure. But for this era and the way she has promoted it and the expectations that she's kind of given to the fans just doesn't add up with... There's a disconnect. Let me know what you think. Keep your socks off. I mean, you can put them back on now because it's starting to smell a bit and I can smell it through the screen, and that's why I'm like trying to rush to get out of here. Discussion below. Share this with your friends. If you are an Ariana, let me know what you think as well. Has the fandom gone a bit too delusional? Critically analyze the media you consume, okay? Do not blindly follow because you're a fan of the creator. Actually, like, take in what you're consuming, because this is another thing as well before I just come off of here. When you're consuming any sort of media, you need to be careful what you are consuming and you're letting into your subconscious, because that will be, especially where you're repeating it and you have so much emotion and like a parasocial relationship with the creator, where you consume the media and like you decide to blindly follow it, you don't realize that you're adopting these sort of beliefs as well, and you start morphing into that person. No, that person is human. They're not a superhuman. They're not a god. That person is human and they definitely have some faults with them. And like I said, multiple truths can be true at once. Ariana can come online and say that she is healthy and stuff, but since she's come out with that video saying that she's healthy, she is progressively looking unhealthy. And that can also be true, but she doesn't have to come online and, you know, talk about that. But she doesn't have to come online and gaslight her fans, and her fans don't also have to come online and gaslight other people and say that she's healthy when she's visibly not. That's a big issue of mine that I have, and I don't know how many times I have to keep saying it, but yeah, I don't know how this video is going to receive, but I'm gonna release it anyways. I don't really care, because the fuck you mean, this is my opinion, this is my thought, and I feel so passionately about it. And I generally, if I could end this off on like any statement, if you are in a position where you struggle with eating disorders and you have no one to talk to about it, I'm going to put like a helpline at the bottom of this video. Please seek help. There's no shame in seeking help. There's no shame in being guided by others as well. It can be very hard, especially with having an ED, to be honest about your habits and not feel like you're giving in to the opposite side, because it's definitely like a mental game and a tug of war, definitely even a spiritual game as well, and a tug of war and just a conflict of interest. If I was to send a message to Ari, the message would be that the time that she's taking away from the public is so needed. You're giving yourself the opportunity to reflect, to heal, and to guide yourself in a spiritual way without, you know, the noise from other people. I just hope that she heals spiritually, because that ultimately manifests on an emotional level, then on a mental level, then on a physical level. That is the domino effect that I'm seeing, because I don't feel like spiritually she's expressing herself the way she wants to. It's affecting her emotionally, and she feels like she still has to like people please and like form her identity to what will basically make the public shut up and just leave her alone. But it's not working. And I hope she takes this as a lesson to just step back and really like reflect on what it is that she wants for herself and how she views herself generally on a spiritual level, because that will always manifest on all the other dimensions, but it starts with the spirit first. Ari definitely needs to go back to Italy. That is where her roots lie, and she just retreats and goes back to where her ancestors came from and held from, because it will definitely inform her even more of her identity and her character, because we are the descendants of those that came before us. So if she was to go back to that land and connect with it, I feel like on a spiritual level, she would connect with herself even more, and she would have a deeper understanding of who she is and where she comes from just by connecting with her heritage. She comes from somewhere with such rich history and culture, where if she was to connect back to that, I definitely think it would heal her on so many levels. But yeah, I'm gonna end it off here. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you didn't, let me know why. But please take this with a grain of salt, and please understand the nuances that I'm trying to like convey in this video. I hope everyone is healthy and well. That is all I just hope for. But yeah, see you in the next video. If you like this, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share it to the people that you know would like it as well, and that would comment and subscribe to my channel. I've also got another YouTube channel, so just like check it out there. And if you want to see the TikTok that I'm talking about that performed unwell, follow my shit. But yeah, until then, bye.